Welcome to Ping 24 Updates, your daily source for global events and breaking stories. Pagasa Island is a tiny speck of land, barely visible on most maps, yet it stands out in the minds of those who understand its significance. It sits in the heart of the vast South China Sea, a region that stretches for millions of square kilometers and connects nations, economies, and cultures. Yet this small island, known internationally as Thitu, holds immense strategic value, far beyond what its size might suggest. It sits astride vital shipping lanes, with trillions in global trade passing through these waters every year, making it a crucial point for international commerce. Control of Pagasa means influence over a key artery of the world economy, where the movement of goods can shape the fortunes of nations. The island is the second largest natural feature in the Spratlys, a contested archipelago claimed by several countries, each eager to assert their rights. Unlike other features, Pagasa hosts a Filipino civilian community with families, children, and daily life, making the dispute about people, not just territory or politics. Its runway and port are symbols of sovereignty, projecting a nation's presence in contested waters and enabling vital supply lines to the island. The island serves as a base for military and Coast Guard operations, allowing monitoring and enforcement of claims and providing a platform for rapid response to any incident. The surrounding seabed is believed to hold vast oil and gas reserves, and the waters are rich fishing grounds, supporting both livelihoods and national economies. For countries with growing needs and expanding populations, the economic stakes are high, fueling competition and sometimes confrontation. Pagasa is a gateway to potential wealth and a microcosm of a larger struggle for resources, influence, and the right to determine the region's future. Tensions here involve major powers, including the US, which has a defense treaty with the Philippines and regularly conducts joint exercises in these waters. A miscalculation near this tiny island could escalate quickly, drawing in superpowers and threatening not just local peace, but the stability of the entire region. The fate of Pagasa is tied to the security of the entire Indo-Pacific, making this small island a focal point in the ongoing contest for power and peace. The Spratly Islands dispute is a tangled web of history, colonialism, and post-war claims. China cites ancient maps and records, claiming sovereignty predating modern law. The Philippines bases its claim on proximity and the principle of asserting the islands were unclaimed when explorer Thomas Cloma claimed them in 1956. Manila later incorporated Calayan with Pagasa as its center into national territory. Vietnam, Malaysia, and Brunei also assert claims. Vietnam on historical presence, Malaysia, and Brunei on continental shelves under UNCLOS. Overlapping claims have created a volatile geopolitical landscape, where diplomacy often gives way to shows of force. After World War II, Japan renounced its claims, but the peace treaty left sovereignty unresolved. This ambiguity allowed multiple nations to occupy features, building garrisons, and planting flags. The Philippines occupied Pagasa in the early 1970s, cementing its frontline role in the dispute. The roots of today's tensions run deep, shaped by decades of rivalry and shifting power. At the heart of the conflict is China's 9-line, a sweeping U-shaped claim over most of the South China Sea. The line, first drawn in 1947, is deliberately ambiguous, covering islands, reefs, and vast waters. For China, it represents historical rights and national pride, taught in schools and promoted in media. For Southeast Asian nations, it's a direct threat, cutting into their exclusive economic zones or EEZs. An EEZ grants a country rights to resources within 200 nautical miles of its coast. China's claim seeks to override these rights, challenging the foundation of maritime law. The clash is not just about territory, but about whether history or international law will prevail. The 9-line questions the universality of treaties and the rule of law. This dispute is a test of whether power or principle will shape the future of the region. The world watches to see which will triumph in these contested waters. In 2013, the Philippines challenged China's claims at an international tribunal under UNCLOS. Manila sought a ruling on maritime rights, not sovereignty. China refused to participate, calling the tribunal illegitimate. Despite the boycott, the case proceeded, with judges examining evidence for years. In July 2016, the tribunal ruled decisively for the Philippines. It found no legal basis for China's 9-line and historic rights. Many features claimed by China were deemed incapable of generating their own EZs. The court condemned China's artificial island building and interference with Filipino activities. The ruling affirmed the rule of law, but had no enforcement mechanism. China rejected the verdict and increased its presence in the South China Sea. The Philippines won on paper, but China held the power on the water. The legal victory was symbolic, failing to change the reality at sea. The standoff continues with law and might in direct conflict. Life on Pagasa Island is a unique blend of tropical calm and constant tension, where the beauty of the sea meets the realities of living on the frontier. A few hundred Filipinos, military personnel, government workers, fishermen and their families, call this remote outpost home, forming a tight-knit community bound by shared purpose. They live simply, with only basic amenities: a small school, a modest town hall, and a health clinic. Most essentials, from food to medicine, arrive on supply ships from the mainland, making each delivery a lifeline. Their daily presence is a living assertion of Philippine sovereignty, transforming the island into more than just a military outpost. It becomes a symbol of national pride and determination. Manila actively encourages settlement here, providing support and resources to keep the community viable, and to ensure the Filipino flag continues to fly over Pagasa. These civilians are more than residents, they are frontline defenders. Their daily routines, from raising the flag to tending gardens, become acts of patriotic duty. Yet, isolation and scarcity are constant challenges. Supplies sometimes run low, and the community must ration water and food, especially when Chinese vessels delay or block supply deliveries. Chinese Coast Guard and militia ships frequently shadow Filipino boats, blocking access to traditional fishing grounds and increasing the sense of vulnerability among locals. This ongoing harassment is a form of psychological warfare, aiming to intimidate and squeeze out the Filipino presence, testing the resolve of the islanders every day. Despite these hardships, the community remains resilient. They gather for celebrations, support one another, and draw strength from their shared sense of purpose, fully aware of their role in a larger national struggle. Fishermen assert their rights by venturing out to sea, risking confrontation to provide for their families. Teachers nurture the next generation, instilling pride and hope in the children of Pagasa. Pagasa's story is not just about geopolitics or territory, it's about courage, perseverance, and the determination to hold ground against overwhelming odds. The islanders' resolve is a powerful testament to the human side of this conflict, showing the world that even in the face of adversity, a small community can stand tall for their nation. With legal victories ignored, the Philippines has shifted to more assertive actions. Manila is upgrading Pagasa's facilities, paving the runway, building a new port, and improving logistics. These upgrades make the island more sustainable and defensible. New barracks, better housing, and plans for research and tourism signal permanence. The Philippine Coast Guard now publicizes Chinese harassment, using videos and photos to expose gray zone tactics. This assertive transparency aims to rally international support and counter Beijing's narrative. Strengthened alliances, especially with the U.S., bolster Manila's position. The U.S. has reaffirmed its defense commitments, and joint patrols with allies are more frequent. This web of partnerships is designed to deter Chinese aggression. Each new structure and alliance is a statement: the Philippines will not be pushed out. The struggle for Pagasa is now fought with infrastructure, information, and alliances. Manila's resolve is clear: sovereignty will be defended on every front. China's strategy in the South China Sea is built on ambiguity and coercion. Instead of direct naval confrontation, it deploys Coast Guard and maritime militia vessels, ostensibly civilian, but state-directed. These ships swarm disputed areas, block access, and intimidate rivals without firing a shot. Gray zone tactics are aggressive, but stop short of open war. Water cannons, dangerous maneuvers, and blockades are common. The maritime militia, larger and more robust than typical fishing boats, loiters in contested waters to establish presence. When the Philippines tries to resupply outposts, it faces swarms of militia boats forming blockades. This puts the burden of escalation on Manila. Any forceful response risks giving China a pretext for escalation. The strategy is slow attrition, aiming to exhaust and outlast the Philippines and other claimants. Defending sovereign rights becomes costly and dangerous. The daily reality is a relentless, low-level conflict fought with numbers and nerves. China's gray zone tactics are reshaping the rules of engagement in the region. The Pagasa standoff is not just a regional issue, it threatens the very fabric of global trade and security, with consequences that could ripple far beyond Asia. The South China Sea is the world's most critical commercial waterway, with a third of all maritime trade passing through its narrow straits. Every day, thousands of ships carry goods, oil, and raw materials between continents. making this region a lifeline for the global economy. Any conflict here could disrupt vital supply chains, spike insurance costs, and trigger global shortages of everything from electronics to food. Even a brief standoff could send shockwaves through markets, affecting prices and availability worldwide. Countries like Japan, South Korea, and Taiwan depend on these lanes for energy and goods. Their economies, and the jobs of millions, are tied to the uninterrupted flow of trade through these contested waters. The crisis is also a major test for international alliances, especially the US-Philippines Defense Treaty. How these partners respond will shape the credibility of security commitments across the region. If the US fails to respond to aggression, its credibility and alliance system could unravel, sending a message to allies and adversaries alike that security guarantees are uncertain. The struggle is also about the future of international law. Legal rulings are only as strong as the willingness of nations to respect them. If powerful nations can ignore legal rulings and seize territory by force, it sets a dangerous precedent that could destabilize other regions as well. Might makes right would replace the rule of law, emboldening other revisionist powers to challenge borders and treaties elsewhere. The principles of sovereignty and peaceful dispute resolution are at stake, with the world watching to see if dialogue can prevail over force. The fate of Pagasa could shape the global order for years to come, influencing how future conflicts are managed and resolved. The world's eyes are on this tiny island and the choices made there, as leaders weigh the risks and responsibilities of action or restraint. The stakes are nothing less than the future of international stability, and the outcome here will echo across generations. The struggle for Pagasa Island is a modern David and Goliath story. The Philippines, armed with law and resolve, stands against China's might. Pagasa has become a symbol for small nations everywhere, proof that sovereignty shouldn't depend on size. If the Philippines is forced out, it signals that small states' rights are conditional. The conflict highlights new forms of statecraft, gray zone tactics, information warfare, and multilateral partnerships. The Philippines' response offers lessons for others facing similar threats. Ultimately, Pagasa is more than a territorial dispute. It's a contest of wills and ideas. Will the world be ruled by shared rules or by raw power? The answer may be found in the resilience of Pagasa's community and the world's response.